Hey everyone, welcome to HBCU Game Day. As it turns out, we're in the middle of hoop season, but as you guys well know, football continues to stay in the headlines. It has become really a year-round sport and something that you have to cover, especially in the SWAC. Joined now by the SWAC Commissioner, Dr. Charles McClelland. Doc, welcome to the conversation today. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Wanted to talk to you because you guys had some pretty significant news come out today that there's going to be a trio of games coming to Birmingham. We're going to get some more of that magic in the Magic City. And a lot of it is centering around Jackson State taking on UAPB and then some back-to-back battles against Southern University. The Boombox coming to Birmingham. Doc, you got to give us the details here, man. I didn't see that one coming. How did it all come together for some SWAC action right there in the heart of Birmingham?
Well, Tali, appreciate you having me on your show as usual. And, you know, the SWAC is not in the business of putting on football games. We do championships in all 18 sports. But when we signed the deal with Birmingham about 3 years ago, they gave us a unique opportunity, and that was to be able to utilize Legion Field and the ability to utilize Legion Field at no cost, which means that the operational cost of putting on the game, the security, ticket takers, things of that nature would be waived. So we gave this opportunity to our membership to say, if anybody is interested in a neutral game, you know, we have the relationships with Birmingham to do so. And part of it in turn was, you know, our schools are going out and they're playing these game guarantees, they're getting hurt, they're bringing back, you know, substantial amount of money, but are there opportunities for us to do better? So when Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman came into the SWAC, the membership agreed to keep an 8-game schedule. So with the 12 teams and keeping an 8-game schedule, that means that we have to have a rotational event to where a team will come off of your schedule for a 2-year period. And it goes through, from an East standpoint, those Western teams will come off, and from a West, the East will come off. So in 23 and 24, Jackson State and Southern is rotating off of the schedule. And there were conversations with the athletic directors from my understanding about playing the game, but they had some difficulties in getting that game scheduled. So they both reached out to the conference office and said, hey, is the opportunity at Birmingham still available? So we in turn went to the leadership. Mayor Woodfin has been a tremendous partner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and he said yes. So, you know, long story short, we went to the city council. We made the pitch to say we do have some opportunities for teams to come, and they put together a package. So the benefit, in my opinion, to this package, Tali, and I know that the city of Birmingham released it, you know, they're putting up $300,000. But when you couple that with no rent, when you couple that with no expenses, and you get to take 100% of the profit, the ticket sales, home with you, that's a significant amount. So from a Southwestern Athletic Conference standpoint, we already have sponsors that have signed on to it. And I can't, you know, give you all of the tea and announcements, but, you know, working on a multimedia deal that's going to put a significant amount in it. So, you know, we've heard some of the concerns about why would you take a home game, move it to the neutral location. One, in the instance of Southern and Jackson, they were having difficulties in getting this game scheduled. So it was a situation where the game might not have occurred at all unless we get to a neutral situation. And, you know, these numbers are preliminary, but based upon the money the city has put in sponsorships, right now, today, if they play, each school will walk away with about $500,000. We think 30,000 in the stadium, each school per year will walk away with about 1.5 million per year. So that's 3 million over a 2-year period. And if we could really do well, get 60,000, you know, that's about a $3 million per year hit. If those schools held that game on their own campus, they would have to pay expenses, and the revenue would not be nearly as what they would be able to get from this game. So it was an opportunity for us to try to expand. We want to change the way that business is being done. The third parties that come in and take the revenue, we think all of that revenue can go to the schools, and this was an opportunity for that to happen.
You know, there's so many principles at play there. We often talk about, especially at large in the Black community, about keeping our dollars in house and how many times it circles through before it goes out. This looks like one of those things. If you take that example in the Black community and make it the SWAC, for example's sake, that's keeping that money in house within the conference.
Absolutely, and that's the goal, is to put additional revenue into the pockets of our schools. We understand that the Southern Jackson State game is a big game. We understand that it is an economic driver for the member institutions, but this is an opportunity for them to get paid in both years and get paid significant in both years. No conference game, no game with a third party will have the ability for us to be able to do what we're doing from a financial standpoint. And that is, when you start talking about expenses, Tolly, even from a Jackson State perspective, and we put a game on at Jackson State, it's very, very expensive to put a game on. You know, our expenses for the championship ran somewhere in the $200,000 range, right? So to be able to come with no expenses, $10,000–$15,000 to travel, and be able to put that significant amount of revenue for a game that was falling off the schedule, we thought was significant. And again, I wanted to reiterate, the school said, hey, we want to play the game. We're having some difficulties. Can you help? And I would like to send a shout out to the city of Birmingham for putting together a deal that would significantly change the way business is done when it comes to these Black college football games.
The leadership there in the city of Birmingham, you guys have always really been able to gel and coexist and just make things happen there. That has to be an important part of this equation too, right?
Well, it's an extremely important part of, the equation. The Southwestern Athletic Conference has been a part of the Birmingham community since 1999. When I got here, they stepped up and they put resources into the conference office for us to be able to have our indoor track championship here, where this is the only facility in the region where you can have, indoor track. They gave us money to be able to put together our basketball tournament here, and for them to want to continue to attract quality events. The Southwestern Athletic Conference now is strong and is vibrant, and people are coming to try to get our product. And the city of Birmingham stepped up, not just with the dollars, but I cannot understate, to have a facility where you can seat 70,000 and walk away with 100% of the ticket sales. So this is not a deal in which the SWAC office is brokering or going to get money. All of the revenue goes to the membership. And again, when you start talking, a home and home, let's say they were able to get the home and home worked out. That meant Jackson was going to get money for 1 year. Southern was going to get money for 1 year. In this deal, they would be able to make equal or more in each year, in a 2-year time frame than they would have been able to make in a 1-year deal. So we thought that it was a good deal. We wanted to respond to the request of the membership. And we think that this is a really good day for the Southwestern Athletic Conference and its member institutions.
Look, Commissioner, Doc, I feel your pain. With the way Jackson State has exploded, and the rest of the SWAC is right there with them. There comes a lot more smoke now. I get a lot of smoke with the contents as well. So you've got to talk to your good friend Ashley Robinson down there and say, look, we're going to help you out every time we can. But you got to help me with some of the smoke, because it comes from all angles now. Jackson State is a hot commodity. We have a lot of fun with that. I probably have more fun with it than you do. I would venture to say that. One thing that is also kind of cool here is there's a lot of conversation about, well, what's going to happen to Legion Field? Are they still going to play games there? This is creating more activity in an iconic stadium there.
Yeah, it's definitely creating, additional opportunities. And I think when you look at the politics here locally, from a Birmingham perspective, the new Protective Life Stadium is a county stadium. Legion Field is a city stadium. So the city is willing to do more with the Southwestern Athletic Conference. There's not a lot of wiggle room from a county's perspective. And what makes this such an attractive piece is the ability for us to be able to control the revenue there. And this is not just a Jackson or a Southern. If this thing works, this can expand to all of those schools that are rolling off, rolling on. But also, I don't want to underestimate the ability for us to bring in additional sponsorship revenue. When those games are on campus, it's localized. When you come to this third party, we can now put our national platform on it. And that's the reason why these numbers are rising significantly. You know, if a SWAC school can walk away with a $3 million payout, Tolly, that has never happened. And we think that this game will allow that to happen if we do things correctly. And that is because of the sponsorship, that is because of the television and the significance of what Birmingham has done with their revenue. But, you know, there's a 2-year extension. If this works, there's going to be other brands, other names that are coming through. But we felt like with the challenges that Jackson State and Southern had initially, and them reaching out to the conference office, we felt that this was an opportunity for us to try to expand this and see if it works. And if it works, we really think this is going to change the way business is done on how individuals handle our SWAC schools.
Look, you cannot let that fruit rot on the tree. Many people call it the Boombox Classic. You look at the recruiting that Jackson State has been doing, getting some of the top high school players straight out of high school. Southern in the last couple of weeks, I can't keep up with their social media, Doc. My head is spinning the way Southern and Grambling and a lot of A&M were just signing players all over the place. Business has picked up so much in the SWAC. These things they have to happen. You can't let that game not happen, especially you can get it in back-to-back years. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer from where I sit on the how entertaining is this perspective.
Yeah, that's correct. And we're excited. You know, as everything, you talk about the smoke, you know, we've had some calls in the office saying you cannot take that game off campus. But I think the clear reality is that game was in jeopardy of being played in 23 and 24. And the two institutions reached out to try to get some resolution. I understand you don't want to lose a home game. You don't want to lose a game as significant as the rivalry of a Jackson State and Southern and other rivalries. But we do think that this is a win-win, and it's for that 2-year time frame. So the next 8 years, they will be on schedule, and then they'll have to try to figure out what they want to do, you know, 10 years from 23 and 24. But, you know, there's a lot of revenue. There are a lot of people that are coming to the SWAC trying to get games, trying to get, you know, in with the Southwestern Athletic Conference schools to generate revenue. And I think this is really an ability for us to try something different that is going to generate a significant amount of revenue. Tali, if nobody showed up to this football game, each school right now today will walk away with $500 million. And that is before our ability to bring in additional television and additional sponsorship. So again, we feel pretty confident that over a 2-year period, each of these schools will be able to walk away with $6 million. And that is significant for their budgets. That is significant for name, image, and likeness. That is significant for them to be able to get the things that they need in order for their programs to grow and thrive. So we think it's a good thing, and we're going to continue to try to come up with innovative ways of putting significant amount of resources in our member institutions' hands.
Doc, some people are struggling with their new iPhone, trying to rewind to hear what you just said. So say it again. If nobody came to this game, stands were empty, what would happen?
Today, we have $500,000 that have already been generated in less than a 24-hour time that would go to these schools. The revenue that the city is kicking in and sponsorships that have already signed up to be a part of this game. So there's going to be more sponsorships. Again, can't let the cat out of the bag. We're working on some major things from a television broadcasting standpoint. If that works, these numbers can go even higher. Those are opportunities that we can't put, you know, on campus. But if we put 30,000 people in there, you're talking about an additional 1.5 million in revenue. If we put 60,000, you're talking about an additional 3 million in revenue. So we're not going on the high end we're not necessarily going on the low end, but we think, again, at minimum, both of these schools will walk away with about 1.5 million minimum per year for a 2-year time frame. And that will be 1.5 million more per year than they would get if these games were not played.
Is that better than going to the Celebration Bowl financially?
Well, Tyler, you're going into it. Yes, it is from a financial standpoint, but I think you're starting to look at the economic impact. And for so long, we've been looking at a lot of touch and feeling type decision-making processes. But the SWAC is growing, and we're growing exponentially. We want the 25, 35, $40 million television deals. We're going to have to do some of those things that television is directing us to do. We feel quite boldly that several of our games could be $1 million plus games. And we're working to try to generate that interest, generate all of the things that are necessary in order for that to happen, to where you don't have to go to the Celebration Bowl to get $1 million. But I can tell you, this game will generate more than what an institution would get from going to the Celebration Bowl. Yes.
Okay, I know I want to be careful how I ask this, because I know that people think that we have biases. I'm biased towards anything that's interesting. But here's a thought that I've had, Commissioner, and you don't have to answer it directly, but I'd like to hear what you're curious about as commissioner. Jackson State signed the #1 high school player in the nation. They signed a top 5 wide receiver straight out of high school. People aren't going to forget that they exist. I'm thinking in my mind, people who otherwise maybe weren't interested in HBCU football for whatever traditional rooting reason they had, you have general interest now that maybe you didn't have 5 years ago. Like, ooh, how's this kid going to play? Or what's that going to look like? Television isn't forgetting about these 5-star kids. Like, I'm just curious is how that affected the business of the SWAC, at least in the early stages.
Oh, it affects the business bottom line, Tyler. I received the viewership numbers, and I know we're kind of getting into a different category now, but some of our ESPN Plus games outdrew some of the ESPN2 games. So when you start looking at digital versus linear, some of those games did not even include Jackson State. It was the general interest of the rivalries and the matchups. And obviously, the buzz of Coach Prime coming in, Grambling is going to get an uptick on his buzz as well with Hugh Jackson, and we already have a large crowd and a large fan base. It is extremely significant. The numbers that we drew this year from both a digital and a linear blew all of our numbers out of the water. And that gives us more of a stick to go out and get additional revenue. Let's make no mistake about it. The money is in television, right? The ticket sale money is gravy. What we have not done a very good job in the Southwestern Athletic Conference is leveraging our media rights. We're working hard to do so, and we're making a significant amount of progress. If we do this thing correctly, we could be we could be distributing back to our schools more than they have seen ever within the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And it's going to be predicated on our ability to generate the interest and get these games on linear television where this revenue is coming in. And then everything that they make on campus will be great. So this is much bigger than just one aspect. The eyes that are on the SWAC now are eyes that have never been on the SWAC before, based upon what we have. And it's not just what Jackson has done. It's all 12 of our member institutions. There were some games that we had on Plus that Valley played in that outdrew some of our traditional powers. So the interest is there, and we have to continue to increase our visibility, and we're going to do that.
Every game with Valley last season was like a real life Rocky 1. You're like, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to knock them off. And it went down. It was like Rocky and Apollo all the way to the end. From top to bottom, you have a winning hand as commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Tyler, if I can interrupt, I'm looking at as looking at the numbers, we had one game on ESPN Plus that had over 480,000 people watching on ESPN Plus.
Wow.
That is the level of interest that's within the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And people want to see us. And if people want to see us, advertisers want to be a part of what we're doing. So we're going to continue to try to push the envelope forward because, again, you know, the Southwestern Athletic Conference is in the business of putting money back into the hands of its member institutions. And we're going to continue to fight very hard to do so.
All right. He's Dr. Charles McClelland, Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Doc, I appreciate your time. I love your transparency. I love the fact that you explain the business of the conference. You're not trying to hide things, and you explain your vision, and to see it evolve and grow year to year and things fall into place. This is a super exciting time and for all invested parties, from HBCU Gameday to the fans to all of the member institutions. Let's keep this momentum going. It's a great time to be alive right now.
All right. Appreciate it and appreciate everything you're doing for HBCUs as well.
All right. He's Dr. Charles McClelland. Thank you for hanging out with us. Another great conversation here at HBCU Gameday.